The twin moons of Valeria Prime hung low over the royal city. Their silver light reflected on the golden towers and wide marble roads of the Aurelian Empire's capital. Soldiers marched through the gates, their armor glowing softly with blue light. The air smelled of rain and metal from the shipyards nearby. The Empire was in trouble. For months, unknown raiders had attacked border colonies and trade routes. Many ships never returned. Even the royal fleet was losing ground. The people of Valeria whispered that the gods had turned away. Inside the royal palace, Queen Mareth stood before a wide window overlooking the city. Her tall, graceful form and silver eyes reflected calm strength. But deep inside, worry filled her. Her daughter, Princess Solara, stood beside her, young, bright, and curious about everything beyond the stars. "Mother," Solara said softly, "you look troubled." The queen's long robes rustled as she turned. "Our fleets are broken, Solara. The raiders are moving closer every day. We are running out of ships, out of soldiers, and soon out of hope." Before Solara could reply, a royal guard entered the hall and bowed deeply. "Your Majesty." A strange object crashed near the outer forest, not far from the fleet base. "Our scouts found wreckage, an escape pod unlike any known design." Queen Mareth's eyes narrowed. "Bring it to the military hangar. I will see it myself." Hours later, in the royal hangar, the queen and her daughter arrived. The air was filled with smoke and the smell of burning metal. Engineers and soldiers surrounded a cracked black pod. Strange symbols covered its side, not Aurelian, not any known language. Inside lay a man. He was tall but thin, with skin much lighter than any Aurelian's. His uniform was torn and burned, yet it was made from a fabric no one recognized. His hair was dark, his face marked by bruises. His eyes, closed in pain, moved slightly as he breathed. "What is he?" one of the soldiers whispered. "Not what," another replied. "Who?" A medical officer scanned him with a handheld device. "His biology. It's close to ours, but tougher. Denser bones, higher muscle fiber density. He's been through something brutal." The queen stepped closer. "Can he speak?" The man's eyes opened slowly. They were blue, calm, and clear. When he saw the crowd of aliens around him, he didn't scream or panic. He simply said in a rough voice, "Where am I?" The words were strange but understandable through the translator device. Everyone froze. The queen frowned. "You are in the Aurelian Empire." "Who are you, stranger?" He looked around at the shining walls and alien faces, then sighed weakly. "Commander Ethan Cole, Human Navy." The queen repeated the strange word slowly. "Oh, man." Her advisors exchanged looks. The word sounded familiar but distant, like something from an old legend. One scholar gasped quietly. "Your Majesty." That name appears in ancient records, from the age before the long silence. Humans were said to be death worlders, creatures from a planet so harsh that only the strongest could survive. The soldiers around them stepped back in alarm. A death worlder, one of the mythical species said to fight beasts barehanded, to walk through storms of fire and live. But Solara stepped forward, ignoring their fear. She saw the man's wounds, the tired lines on his face. "He doesn't look like a monster," she said softly. "He looks hurt." Ethan turned his head toward her voice. His lips curved in the faintest smile. "You must be royalty," he said, noticing her golden crest and fine robes. Solara blinked. "How could you tell?" He gave a weak chuckle. "You have the same look in your eyes that every commander I ever met had. Someone who carries too much responsibility." The queen raised a hand sharply. "Enough. Guards, take him to a containment cell. We will decide his fate after the council meets." The guards obeyed. Ethan didn't resist. As they led him away, Solara's gaze followed him, her mind full of questions. That night, Solara couldn't sleep. She kept thinking about the human. The way he spoke, the calm in his voice, the quiet strength in his eyes, and it all felt different. Most aliens who saw the queen trembled in fear. But Ethan had looked at her mother as if she were just another leader. Not with disrespect, but with equality. Finally, Solara left her room, wrapping herself in a dark cloak. She made her way through silent corridors to the lower levels of the palace where the holding cells were kept. The guard at the door tried to stop her. "Princess," the queen said. "I will take responsibility," Solara said firmly, and he stepped aside. Inside, Ethan sat on the floor, his uniform partly repaired using torn cloth. When he saw her, he stood and bowed slightly. "You shouldn't be here," he said. "Neither should you. she replied with a small smile. For a moment, they just looked at each other. Then she asked, "What happened to you?" Ethan sighed. "My ship was attacked. We were exploring deep space far beyond human colonies. Something hit us, and maybe the same raiders you're fighting. I barely made it out before my ship was torn apart. You came from far away?" He nodded. "Very far. My homeworld is called Earth." Solara's eyes widened. "Earth? I've never heard of it." "Most haven't," he said. "We're not part of your galaxy's empires. We travel to learn, to see what's out there." There was a pause. Solara looked at his bandaged hands. "You're injured. I can ask the healers to—" He shook his head. "I'll manage. I've been through worse. You speak like a soldier." "I was one," Ethan said quietly. "But I'd rather fix things than break them." Solara smiled faintly. "A warrior who prefers to fix instead of fight. That's rare." Ethan looked up. "Your ship said I saw them in the hangar. They're good designs, but your engines are unstable. That's why they keep breaking down." She tilted her head. "You could fix them?" He hesitated. "Maybe, but I'd need your people's trust." Solara thought for a moment. "They won't trust you yet." "But I will." He blinked, surprised. "Why?" "Because I looked in your eyes," she said simply. "You didn't lie." The next morning, the Queen arrived at the hangar again, and was shocked to find her daughter standing beside the human. Ethan was explaining a set of energy diagrams to a group of engineers. They listened with a mix of confusion and awe. "Your Majesty," one of them said, "the human's ideas, they work." He found a way to restore the damaged plasma conduits without replacing the cores. "It's brilliant!" Queen Marith's eyes hardened. "Solara, what is the meaning of this?" Solara faced her calmly. "He only wishes to help us, Mother. He can save our fleet." Ethan stepped forward and bowed slightly. "Your Majesty, with your permission, I can have one ship ready for battle in a day. Maybe two." The Queen studied him for a long moment. Her instinct said to reject him. Her duty said to protect her people. Her heart, a mother's heart, warned her that this human was dangerous in ways she did not yet understand. "Finally," she said coldly, "you have one day, human. If you fail, you will leave this world in chains." Ethan met her gaze and nodded. "Understood." As the Queen turned away, Solara whispered to him, "Be careful. My mother doesn't trust easily." Ethan gave a faint grin. "Neither do I." By nightfall, the hangar blazed with light. Sparks flew as Ethan worked beside the alien engineers, showing them human methods, strong, simple, effective. He taught them how to reroute damaged power lines, how to use pressure seals instead of delicate crystal conduits. His hands moved fast, confident, sure. Solara watched from the catwalk above, amazed. He worked like someone born to machines. He didn't order others around. He guided them, encouraged them, and they listened. When the ship's engines finally roared to life, the whole hangar erupted in cheers. For the first time in months, a royal cruiser was ready for battle again. From the shadows, the Queen watched silently, her expression unreadable. She whispered to herself, "He fixed what our best engineers could not." "Who is he?" Solara heard her mother's voice and smiled quietly. She didn't answer yet, but deep inside she knew that the answer would change everything. The next morning, the royal hangar buzzed with activity. Engineers hurried to examine the cruiser Ethan had repaired. Sparks flew from welding torches. Steam hissed from damaged engines. Soldiers ran past, checking weapons and shields. The air smelled of hot metal and fuel. Ethan moved calmly among them. His dark hair fell over his forehead. His sleeves were rolled up, revealing strong arms. He carried a simple toolkit. No one had seen such tools before. Yet every piece seemed perfectly designed for the job. He knelt beside a broken energy conduit and adjusted a simple brace. Sparks jumped, but instead of panic, a warm hum filled the air. The conduit worked. An Aurelian engineer gasped. "It's stable. I have never seen anything like it." Ethan wiped his hands and stood. "Sometimes the simplest solution works best," he said. His accent made his words sound rough, but there was confidence in his voice. Princess Solara watched him quietly from the catwalk. She noticed how the soldiers glanced at him with awe. Some whispered to each other. He was different from anyone they had ever met, but his calm and focus earned their respect. One soldier said softly, "I don't know who he is, but he saved our ship." Ethan moved from one engine to another. Each time he pointed out small changes. Rerouted power flows, better pressure valves, stronger shielding. The Aurelians had never thought of these methods. Slowly, their own engineers began to copy him. After hours, the ship engines roared again. The lights blinked, the shields hummed, and the hangar shook with energy. Soldiers cheered. Even some engineers clapped for him. Solara smiled, feeling a mix of pride and excitement. Ethan glanced up at her and nodded. "Not bad for a day's work," he said, his voice quiet but firm. Later, Ethan and Solara walked through the palace gardens. The sun reflected off the silver fountains. Flowers of violet and gold swayed in the gentle wind. Solara asked, "Why are you here, Ethan? Why risk yourself to fix ships for strangers?" Ethan looked at her. "Because someone has to help. I've seen too many die when no one tried. You don't get strong by hiding from danger. You get strong by facing it and fixing what is broken." Solara's eyes widened. "Even our soldiers haven't said that," he shrugged. "Soldiers follow orders. Leaders fix problems." She paused, thinking. "You are not afraid of anyone. Even the Queen." Ethan gave a small smile. "Fear is normal. You just don't show it when you have work to do." Solara shook her head in wonder. She had never met someone like him before. Most humans in stories were small, weak creatures who lived in quiet worlds. Yet this human was strong, clever, and calm, as if he belonged anywhere, even among royalty. The next day, the Queen called her council. She had watched Ethan closely. His work was impressive, yes, but his presence made her uneasy. "This human," she said, her voice sharp. "He is strange, yet he moves among us like he belongs. How can I trust him? And more importantly, why is my daughter so drawn to him?" A counselor cleared his throat. "Your Majesty, his knowledge is extraordinary. He repaired the cruiser engines when your top engineers could not. If we keep him, our fleet may survive the raiders." Another spoke. "But he is a stranger from the stars. We know nothing of his people. Humans were said to be dangerous, death-worlders who survive in the deadliest places. If he turns against us, he could destroy everything." The Queen's eyes narrowed. Solara must not be influenced by him. A royal daughter cannot marry an outsider without disaster. Solara, who had hidden nearby in the gallery, clenched her fists. She wanted to defend him, but she stayed silent. She knew her mother's temper was strong, and speaking now could endanger Ethan. Ethan worked tirelessly over the next few days. Each repair he made was faster and more effective than the last. The engineers began to trust him, though some still whispered, "How does he know so much? Where did he learn these things?" Ethan didn't brag. He simply taught. He guided the engineers through human methods of repair, modular design, fast improvisation, and redundancy. The ships became stronger, faster, and safer. Even older vessels and considered lost causes roared to life after he touched them. One night, as they were leaving the hangar, an alert sounded. A small raider fleet had been detected near the outer colonies. Alarms blared across the palace. Soldiers scrambled to prepare. Solara looked at Ethan. "You want to come with us?" she asked. He shook his head. "I'll help from here. But you, be careful. Your fleet may not survive a full attack." Solara frowned. "You've already done more than anyone could expect." He smiled faintly. "I'm not done yet, but courage alone does not win battles." The raiders struck in the early morning. Their ships were faster than the Aurelians expected. Missiles and plasma blasts tore through the fleet. Pilots struggled to dodge attacks. Soldiers braced for impact. Panic spread through the fleet, but Solara and the Queen's commanders acted quickly. Ethan had prepared for this. Using his knowledge, he guided the engineers to reinforce the shields and reroute power to weak sections. He instructed them to create small energy bursts, a tactic that confused the raiders. Their ships moved like dancers in the sky, dodging attacks that should have destroyed them. Solara was amazed. Even in battle, he remained calm. He gave orders to engineers, guided ship pilots, and suggested strategies. Slowly, the fleet began to hold its ground. After hours of fighting, the raiders retreated. Many Aurelian ships were damaged, but none were lost. Soldiers cheered. Engineers embraced each other. And in the middle of the hangar, Ethan cleaned his hands as if he had simply done his job. That evening, Solara found him again in the hangar. He was tired, leaning against the hull of the cruiser. His uniform was torn, his face covered in sweat and smudges of oil. "You did it," Solara said softly. "You saved them all." Ethan shook his head. "I didn't, your fleet did. I just showed them a better way. I only pointed the path," Solara smiled. "No, you gave them hope. Without you, many would have died. For the first time, Ethan looked uneasy. I am not sure I belong here. I am not one of you. I am a stranger. Solara stepped closer. Maybe you are a stranger, but you are also someone who changed everything. You saved my people, and me. Ethan's eyes softened. You believe that? I do, she said, and so will everyone else soon enough. The next morning, the Queen returned to the hangar. She had been silent since the battle, her mind filled with questions. She saw Ethan standing with the engineers giving instructions. He didn't bow, he didn't plead, he simply worked. And yet there was something commanding about him, something that even royalty could not ignore. The Queen stepped forward. Human, she said, her voice calm but sharp. You have saved my fleet. You have earned a place in my eyes, temporarily. But understand this, you are still a stranger in my empire. Any mistake and you will face punishment. Ethan met her gaze evenly. Understood, Your Majesty. I only wish to serve. The Queen looked at her daughter. Solara's expression was firm. Her eyes shone with determination. The Queen understood in that moment that Solara had made her choice, and it was clear she would not be swayed. That evening, as the twin moons rose again, Solara and Ethan stood together in the quiet hangar. The ships hummed softly, repaired and ready. The stars above were bright and full of promise. Will they accept you? Solara asked. Ethan looked at her, a small smile playing at his lips. I don't know, but I will try. I can fix ships, I can fight, and maybe I can earn a place here. Solara nodded. Then you are already braver than many here, even some who were born to command. For the first time, Ethan felt a sense of belonging. Not complete, not permanent, but enough to take the first step. And Solara knew deep inside that the arrival of this human, this stranger from the stars, had already changed the fate of the Aurelian Empire forever. The morning sky over Valeria Prime was painted in shades of crimson and gold. Alarms echoed through the palace and hangars. Scouts had reported a massive raider fleet approaching the outer colonies. This was no small strike, it was a full assault. Panic swept across the city. Princess Solara rushed to the command center. Engineers and officers shouted numbers, coordinates, and status updates. The Queen was already present, standing tall and observing the holographic projection of incoming ships. Her silver eyes glimmered with worry and determination. Ethan Cole, the human, stood at her side. He had spent days studying the fleet and the ship's systems. Despite the short time he had been in Aurelian space, he had learned quickly, and now every word he spoke was critical. The raiders are faster than expected, Ethan said, pointing at the hologram. Their attack vectors will split our fleet. We cannot defend every sector if we stay in traditional formations. We need to improvise, a counselor frowned. Improvisation in the middle of battle? That is reckless. Ethan's eyes met Solara's. Sometimes the strongest path is the one no one expects. Solara nodded. Do it, trust him, Mother. He knows what he is doing. The Queen hesitated. Her instincts screamed danger. But the reports were clear. Without a new plan, the raiders would tear through their defenses. Finally, she gave a curt nod. Very well. Follow his strategy. Minutes later, the Aurelian fleet deployed across the space above Valeria Prime. Ships of all sizes moved into position. Soldiers gripped controls tightly, waiting for orders. The raider fleet appeared on sensors like a dark storm, their ships jagged and heavily armed. Ethan's voice came over the comms, calm but firm. Sector Alpha, create a false signal. Sector Beta, draw them in closer. Use our smaller ships to flank. Focus on their command vessels first. They are slower, but control the others. Some Aurelian captains exchanged uneasy glances. This was not standard protocol. They were trained for direct assault, not the kind of unpredictable tactics Ethan suggested. The raiders struck first. Bolts of plasma tore across the void. Explosions shook the fleet. Ships faltered under the sudden attack. Panic rippled through inexperienced pilots, but Ethan remained calm. Now, he said, activate the decoys. Move Sector Beta in a tight circle. The smaller Aurelian ships moved quickly, weaving through the larger raiders. Sensors were disrupted. The raider fleet hesitated, confused. The decoy ships simulated larger vessels. For a moment, it seemed like the raiders were fighting shadows. Solara watched from her fighter, her hands gripping the controls. Her ship moved in perfect coordination with Ethan's strategy. She felt a mix of fear and excitement. The human beside her, unseen but guiding the battle, had given them a fighting chance. Hours passed, and the battle grew more intense. Explosions lit the void, ships spun out of control, and alarms blared across every vessel. The human tactics worked, but it was not without cost. Several Aurelian ships were destroyed. Pilots who had never faced real combat froze in terror. Ethan moved from comm to comm, guiding each sector, giving clear and precise orders. Fire when they overextend. Target the weak shields first. Move your fleet in a zigzag pattern, never predictable. Keep their command ships under pressure. Even the Queen watched in awe. Her daughter's human ally, a stranger, had taken control of their fleet with no arrogance, only clarity and calm. Slowly, her fear of losing control softened, replaced by respect. Solara's fighter dodged an incoming missile. She launched her own volley, hitting a raider cruiser. "Ethan, the enemy is trying to regroup." "Good," he said. "Let them. It makes them predictable. Focus on their main ships, not the small ones. Protect the civilians, and they cannot fight." The princess followed his guidance, coordinating with other pilots and directing them to weak points in the enemy formation. Slowly, the Aurelian fleet began gaining ground. By midday, a large enemy dreadnought moved into the center of the battle. Its size was terrifying. It fired massive plasma cannons, and smaller Aurelian ships exploded under its assault. "Sector Gamma," Ethan's voice boomed over comm. "We need a diversion. I will lead a strike. Draw the dreadnought toward me and hold the flanks. We can disable its engines with concentrated fire." Solara gasped. "You'll be in direct combat." "I'll survive," he said calmly. "Trust me." Ethan boarded a small, fast starfighter. Unlike the sleek Aurelian designs, his ship looked crude but functional. It had been repaired with human ingenuity. Reinforced hull, energy shields, and improvised weapon systems. He zoomed into the chaos of battle, weaving through fire and debris. The dreadnought fired. Energy beams tore past him, missing by inches. He launched counterattacks, targeting the ship's engine ports. Each strike was precise, calculated. The Aurelian fleet followed his lead, coordinating with Ethan's maneuvers. Solara's heart pounded as she watched. "He's incredible," she whispered. "I've never seen anyone move like that." After several tense minutes, the dreadnought's engines sparked and failed. The massive ship drifted, helpless, as Aurelian forces surrounded it. The raider fleet, seeing their leader disabled, began retreating. The battle ended with cheers. The Aurelian fleet had survived a fight that should have destroyed them. Ships were damaged, but none were lost beyond repair. Pilots and engineers celebrated their unexpected victory. Solara flew to the hangar, her fighter landing near Ethan. He emerged from his ship, exhausted but unharmed. His uniform was scorched in places, his hair mussed, yet his eyes were calm, filled with quiet satisfaction. "You did it," Solara said, rushing to him. "You saved them all." "I didn't," Ethan replied, brushing dust from his jacket. "Your fleet did. I only helped them see what was possible." Solara shook her head. "No, you gave them hope, and hope wins battles too." Ethan looked at her, a faint smile on his lips. "Maybe, but courage alone is not enough." "You all showed courage too." Solara's heart swelled. She realized that this human, a stranger, warrior, mechanic, had earned the respect of her people and the love of their soldiers without even trying. When the Queen arrived at the hangar later, the scene shocked her. Soldiers surrounded Ethan, cheering. Engineers waved their tools in celebration. Even some counselors nodded in approval. The Queen's silver eyes scanned the human standing calmly amidst all this. "Who is he?" She whispered, more to herself than anyone else. Solara stepped forward, her voice steady. "He is someone who saved your fleet, Mother. Someone who saved our people, and someone I trust." The Queen said nothing for a moment. She had seen many heroes, many soldiers, but never someone so young, so strange, and yet so capable. She felt a mix of fear and admiration. Fear that her daughter might be influenced. Admiration for what this human had accomplished. That evening, the city celebrated their victory. Bells rang across Valeria Prime. Fireworks lit the night sky. Citizens cheered for their fleet, for their princess, and for the stranger who had saved them. Solara found Ethan once again in the quiet hangar. He was sitting on the floor, exhausted, hands bandaged from minor burns. "You should rest," she said. "The celebrations can wait." "I'm fine," he replied, though his voice betrayed fatigue. "I only want to make sure no one else gets hurt." Solara smiled. "You've already done more than anyone could imagine. And tomorrow, We will need your help again. The raiders will not give up so easily. Ethan looked up at the twin moons above. Then we prepare, we fight. And we fix what is broken. Together. Solara nodded. Together. In that moment, both of them knew that this was only the beginning. The war was far from over. But with courage, intelligence, and trust, even a single human could change the fate of an entire empire. The city of Valeria Prime was quiet after the battle. Fires had been put out and damaged ships were slowly repaired. Citizens celebrated their survival. But in the palace, tension filled the air. The queen had been silent since witnessing the human Ethan Cole lead her fleet to victory. She had respect for him, yes, but also fear. How could her daughter, her only heir, be drawn to someone so unknown, so alien in every way? Solara found herself walking the palace halls alone. She had spent the night thinking of Ethan, his calm strength, his clever mind, and the way he inspired everyone around him. She did not see him as a stranger. She saw him as someone brave and kind. The queen summoned Ethan to the throne room the next morning. The air was cold and still. Sunlight poured through tall windows, reflecting off the marble floor. The throne room was empty except for the queen, her advisors, and Solara. Guards lined the walls, silent and alert. Ethan entered, his steps steady. He had not expected warmth or welcome, only judgment. Yet he held his head high as if he had done nothing wrong. The queen's silver eyes studied him closely. "Human," she said, her voice calm but sharp. "You have done the impossible. You saved my fleet and by extension my empire. For that you have earned my recognition." Ethan bowed slightly. "Thank you, Your Majesty. I did what anyone would do to protect lives." The queen's lips pressed tightly. She could see that he was brave, clever, and honorable. But still, he was a stranger. "Yet," she continued, "you are not one of us. You do not belong to our people. You could influence my daughter in ways I cannot control, that I cannot allow." Solara stepped forward. "Mother, please. He only wants to help. He has no desire for power or status. He is not a threat. He is a gift to our people." The queen's eyes softened slightly at her daughter's words, but her tone remained firm. "Solara, I must protect the empire. Your loyalty to a stranger cannot outweigh your duty to your people. You will see him leave Aurelian space, or—" Her voice trailed off, leaving a heavy silence. Ethan did not flinch. "I am not here to take anything from you," he said. "I only wish to serve and help your people survive. I will leave if you insist, but I hope you will consider that actions matter more than origin." The queen's advisors murmured among themselves. Some were impressed by his courage. Others were worried by his influence over the princess. The room was tense, the air thick with uncertainty. Solara's voice rang out, steady and firm. "Mother, I will not abandon the one who saved my people and my life. If you order him to leave, I will leave with him." The queen's silver eyes widened in shock. "Solara, you cannot." "You are a princess. Your duty is to this empire." Solara stepped closer to Ethan, taking his hand. "And my duty is also to do what is right. To save lives. To protect those who cannot protect themselves. Ethan has done that. I will not turn away from him now." Ethan's blue eyes met Solara's. "Princess," he began, but she shook her head. "Do not call me that here," she said. "We face judgment together. Whatever comes, we face it as equals." The queen looked between them, her heart torn. She had seen loyalty, bravery, and intelligence in many warriors, yet never in someone so human. She realized her daughter's choice was clear. Solara's loyalty to him was unshakable. The silence was broken by a sudden alarm. Sensors detected another approaching fleet, this time faster and more numerous than before. The raiders had not been defeated. They had returned, stronger and more organized. The queen's expression hardened. "You see? There is no time for debate. If you insist on keeping this human here, he must prove himself once more, now in battle." Ethan's calm blue eyes met the queen's. "I am ready. Show me where to begin." Solara squeezed his hand. "Together we can do this. Trust in me and trust in them and trust in yourself." Ethan nodded. "Very well. Then we prepare." The Aurelian fleet was scrambled again. This time Ethan and Solara worked side by side to organize defenses. The raiders struck swiftly, but the fleet now had new tactics, inspired by Ethan's human strategies. Engineers worked quickly to reinforce shields, reroute energy, and repair damaged weapons. Ethan moved from calm to calm, instructing captains with calm authority. "Sector Alpha, use the decoys. Sector Beta, protect the civilians. Sector Gamma, strike their rear. Focus fire on command ships first. It will confuse the others. The battle was chaotic. Missiles streaked across the void. Ships spun from direct hits. Yet despite the overwhelming odds, the Aurelians began to gain control. The humans' simple but effective tactics confused the enemy. Solara flew her fighter at the front lines, watching Ethan's strategies come to life. She directed other pilots, coordinated attacks, and saved weaker ships from destruction. Together, she and Ethan became a team, one mind guiding the fleet, the other executing with precision. Hours passed. The enemy's lead dreadnought moved closer, its massive cannons tearing through the void. Ethan directed a small strike team to disable its engines. Solara volunteered to fly alongside him, despite the Queen's silent protests. "You will both survive," Ethan said calmly, adjusting the weapons on their fighters. "We do this together." They launched a precise attack. The smaller ships darted around the dreadnought, dodging massive energy blasts. Ethan's human tactics worked flawlessly. He guided them to weak points on the ship's engines. Solara fired with perfect timing. The dreadnought sparked and faltered. Seeing their leader disabled, the rest of the raider fleet began to retreat. Victory came at last, and the Aurelian fleet had survived. Back in the palace, the Queen observed from the control chamber. She had watched Ethan and Solara lead the fleet with courage, intelligence, and calm authority. Her fear began to fade. He was not a threat, he was an asset. He had proven himself in battle. Yet one question remained in her mind. Who was he really? How could someone so young, so strange, be capable of such bravery and skill? The Queen summoned Ethan once more to the throne room. She studied him carefully. "Human," she said, her voice measured. "You have proven your worth on the battlefield. You have saved countless lives, yet you are still a stranger to us. My daughter seems to trust you more than any of my counselors." Ethan bowed slightly. "I am honored, Your Majesty. I only wish to serve. Your people are brave, intelligent, and strong. I am only here to help them realize it." Solara stepped forward. "Mother, he saved our fleet, our people, and even you. He does not wish to rule or take power. He only wishes to protect, and he has done that." The Queen looked at her daughter, seeing determination in her eyes. She realized that Solara's loyalty was unshakable. Her daughter had chosen this human, not for his strength alone, but for his courage, his honor, and his heart. After a long silence, the Queen spoke. "Very well. I will allow him to remain, for now. But know this, Solara. Any misstep, any failure, and he will face the full weight of my judgment." Solara smiled, relieved. "Thank you, Mother. You will see, he will not fail." Ethan nodded. "I will not let you down, Your Majesty." That night, Solara and Ethan stood on the balcony overlooking Valeria Prime. The city was alive with celebrations. Citizens cheered for the fleet, for their princess, and for the human who had saved them. Ethan looked at the twin moons above. "This is only the beginning. The raiders will return stronger and smarter." Solara took his hand. "Then we prepare together. We face whatever comes, Miar side by side." Ethan smiled faintly. "I am ready, and I am glad I am not alone." Solara looked at him with warmth. "Neither am I." Above them, the stars shone bright and endless. The Empire had survived thanks to courage, strategy, and the bond between a human and a princess. And deep inside, both Solara and Ethan knew that their journey was far from over, but together they could face anything. The morning air on Valeria Prime was filled with tension and excitement. The raiders had returned once more, larger in number, more determined. The city braced itself. Citizens fled to safety, while Aurelian soldiers prepared their ships and weapons. Princess Solara stood at the balcony overlooking the hangars. Beside her, Ethan Cole tightened his gloves, readying for what might be the fiercest battle yet. "You're calm," Solara said, her voice quiet but full of awe. "Even now." Ethan looked at her, his blue eyes steady. "Calm doesn't mean unafraid. It means knowing what to do when the moment comes." Solara smiled. "Then let's make sure we're ready." The Queen appeared behind them, her silver eyes sharp and calculating. She had watched Ethan for days, witnessing his courage, his clever strategies, and the way he inspired the fleet. Yet she remained wary. "Ethan," she said, her voice measured, "you have proven yourself in battle twice now. You have earned my respect, but this fleet, this empire, they are not yours. Any mistake, and I will hold you accountable." Ethan bowed his head slightly. "Understood, Your Majesty. I will not fail." The queen's gaze softened as she studied him. Despite her strict words, she could see his integrity, his honor, and the quiet strength that had saved her people more than once. Solara reached out and placed a hand on Ethan's arm. "We face this together," she said. The battle began in the late morning. Sensors detected the raider fleet moving quickly toward the city. Their ships were sleek and deadly, firing with precision. But the Aurelian fleet, now reorganized under Ethan's strategies, moved like a single organism. Ethan's voice came through comms, calm and clear. "Sectors Alpha and Beta, create decoy signals. Sector Gamma, focus fire on command ships. Protect civilian transports at all costs." The raiders attacked with unmatched ferocity. Plasma beams tore through space, striking shields and hulls alike. Smaller Aurelian ships dodged and retaliated under Ethan's guidance. Larger cruisers followed his strategies, hitting weak points in enemy formations. Solara piloted her fighter with precision, moving alongside Ethan's commands. Together they coordinated strikes, guided weaker ships, and predicted enemy movements. Every human tactic Ethan had introduced, improvisation, redundancy, and fast adaptability, turned the tide of battle. The Queen watched from the command center. She had been skeptical, but now she saw the truth. This human, this stranger, had saved her empire. And not only that, he had done so with intelligence, bravery, and selflessness. Hours passed. The raider fleet, though fierce, began to falter. The Aurelian forces moved with precision, anticipating enemy maneuvers. Still, one massive raider dreadnought pressed forward, its cannons tearing through smaller ships. Ethan's voice cut through the comms. "Solara, we take the dreadnought together. I will create a distraction. You and your fighters strike its engines. Aim for the weak points, the rear thrusters and shield nodes." Solara nodded, determination in her eyes. "Let's finish this." They launched into the fray. Ethan maneuvered his fighter around the massive ship, dodging energy blasts with agility that amazed even the most seasoned pilots. He fired carefully, aiming to draw attention while Solara's squadron struck from above and below. The dreadnought roared under their combined assault. Explosions lit the void, and the enemy fleet hesitated, unsure how to respond. Ethan guided the Aurelian fleet with precision, anticipating every movement. Slowly, the massive ship faltered, then stopped. Its engines were disabled. The remaining raiders, seeing their leader crippled, began to retreat. Victory was theirs. The Aurelian fleet had survived the greatest challenge it had faced in decades. When the battle ended, Solara and Ethan returned to the palace. Soldiers and citizens celebrated their victory. Engineers repaired ships while commanders reviewed the battle logs, still in awe of Ethan's strategy and composure. The Queen awaited them in the throne room. She stood tall, regal and composed, but her eyes betrayed a mixture of respect, concern, and curiosity. "Ethan Cole," she said, her voice steady, "you have done what I never thought possible. You have saved my fleet, my empire, and my people. You have proven your strength, your intelligence, and your loyalty. For that I thank you," Ethan bowed. "Your Majesty, I did only what I could. Your people are brave, capable, and strong. I merely guided them." The Queen studied him for a long moment. Then finally she said, "And yet, you are still a stranger. I have watched my daughter. She trusts you, follows you, admires you. That cannot be ignored." Solara stepped forward, smiling. "Mother, you have seen him. He is not here for power or glory or to take what is not his. He is here because he chose to protect us, and I choose him." The Queen's silver eyes widened. For the first time she seemed caught off guard. "Solara, are you saying what I think you are?" Solara's smile grew. "Yes, Mother. Ethan is my partner, my choice, and I will not deny it." Ethan stepped closer to Solara, taking her hand gently. "Your Majesty," he said respectfully, "I ask for nothing but the chance to serve your people and to stand by Solara's side. I am not one of your kind, but I wish only to help and protect, and I will spend my life doing so." The Queen remained silent for a moment, her mind weighing centuries of tradition against the undeniable truth before her. Finally she spoke, her voice soft but firm. "Then, if you are truly honorable, loyal, and brave, you may remain. But know this, your actions will always be tested. Any failure will bring consequences." Ethan bowed once more. "Understood, Your Majesty." Solara stepped forward, her eyes shining. "Then let the record show. This human has earned his place among us." The Queen looked at the two of them. Slowly, a small, almost imperceptible smile appeared. "Very well. Let it be so. The celebrations that evening were magnificent. Citizens filled the streets singing and cheering. Soldiers and engineers praised Ethan as a hero. The princess stood beside him, proud and smiling. Ethan, exhausted but happy, looked around at the people. "I did not do this alone," he said quietly. "Your people fought bravely, followed strategy, and trusted each other. I only guided them." Solara's hand found his. "And I will always stand by you," she said softly. The queen approached, placing a hand on Solara's shoulder. She looked at Ethan with a mixture of caution and respect. "You have done what no other could. You have earned trust, respect, and my daughter's heart. Do not betray it." Ethan bowed. "I will not, Your Majesty." "I swear it," Solara smiled at him. "See, Mother? He is honorable. He is brave. He is human. And he is mine." The queen's eyes softened further. "Then let it be known," she said, turning to the assembled crowd, "that this human Ethan Cole has earned his place among us, and that my daughter's choice is her own. From this day forward, he is accepted in the Aurelian Empire." Solara's heart raced. She looked at Ethan and whispered, "My husband." The human. Ethan blinked, surprised, then smiled softly. I'm honored," he said, "and I will spend my life proving I am worthy of that title." The queen watched the two of them, her silver eyes gleaming with a mixture of pride and relief. The empire had been saved, and she had seen courage and loyalty beyond her expectations. Above Valeria Prime, the twin moons shone bright. The stars stretched across the sky, endless and eternal. A human had come from the far reaches of space, faced impossible odds, and changed the fate of an entire empire, and now, by the princess's choice, he was more than a savior. More than a hero, he was family. Solara smiled at Ethan, feeling the weight of history and destiny around them. "Together," she said. Ethan nodded, taking her hand in his. Together. The city cheered, the fleet stood ready, and the future of the Aurelian Empire, and the human who had become a part of it, shone bright with hope, courage, and unity.